How to manage your time effectively as a freelancer, coming up. Hello and welcome back to the Freelanceverse. Welcome back to season 4. Hope you had a good summer or are still having one. I'm back with a new season, a new episode. I'm actually on holiday while you're watching this, so it's a bit ironic, but I'm filming this before. Really excited to get back to filming. I feel like I gained a lot of energy throughout the summer, so I'm ready for a new season. And we kick off this season with a video about time management. I said it in the last video of season 3 that this video is kind of also for me. I need to get back on my stuff again because since like the spring, I have not really been doing well with time management. So this has also been very useful for me. And starting after the break, I will definitely focus more on that again. So here are my tips for it. So effectively planning your work life and your personal life can really increase your business, but also make you have a better life. That is quite a broad claim, right? So let's explore that further. I feel like one of the hardest things as a freelancer is like finding the balance between, oh my God, I can just enjoy my life. I have so much freedom. I don't need to do anything. Versus, oh my God, I have so much to do. I don't have time for anything, right? So I feel like most people are always in one or the other extreme, and to find the balance is very, very difficult because it's a very thin line. And believe it or not, these two emotions can happen on the same day, right? It's not that in June you feel like this and in July you feel like this. It can literally switch from 1 hour to the next. Sometimes I wake up and I have nothing planned for that day and I feel like, oh, I need to do some marketing, I need to get some jobs in, and then by lunch I'm fully booked until next week, right? So these two emotions, they're not exclusive to each other. They can really happen on the same day. So how do you find a balance? The number one keyword here, which is a bit annoying for people that's starting out, but it's really experience. A lot of it comes naturally. You have to make these mistakes. You have to work the debilitating night shift, the back-breaking weekend work, and you have to learn from it. You have to learn that this is not sustainable, that this is not a good way to do it. Only from this you can learn effectively. Like, of course, you can listen to these videos and learn from my mistakes as well. That might work for you, but I feel like in the beginning, everyone makes the same mistakes, and that's fine. The more you work in the field, the more you learn about yourself, how you work, when you work best. You become more productive as well, and that's how you make your plannings more efficient. One thing I really like to repeat to myself often, and I also tell people often, is the phrase that I don't have time or I don't have time for that is not real, right? It's just a coping mechanism. This just means that you don't allocate time to that. You have other priorities. But everyone has the same amount of time. You can make time for anything in the world, but it depends on your priorities. So saying I don't have time for that doesn't really make sense. Either you want to do it or you don't want to do it. So when I hear people to say like, I don't have time to do sports next to my working day, I don't find a healthy balance, I just can't believe that, because if I then go through their daily activities, and there is no way that we wouldn't find 30 minutes for movement, right? So there is always time for little things, definitely, and for the big things you have to set priorities. When you think about it, sometimes I find it so crazy when I go through this thought. During the working week, we have like 80 waking hours, right? If we sleep 8 hours on average. And from these 80 hours of being awake, we spend 40 to 50 hours working. So more than half of your waking hours you spend at work during the week. So imagine having a crappy job that you hate for more than half of your life. That's insane. Of course, I empathize with people like that, because often people don't have the choice to make a change or an opportunity to make a change. But just if you're watching this video and you're thinking about following your dream and doing what you really like, just make this calculation in your mind. Like, is it really, really worth it to spend half of your waking hours during the weeks doing something you don't like? Even if it makes you a lot of money, it's not worth it. Anyways, this is why managing your time effectively as a freelancer, as a person in general, is so important. Now, going back to like my orders, for example, my order management, I have tried. Don't be afraid to keep it very basic and simple, right? I have tried many tools. I've tried many order management tools, project management tools as well. However, I find myself always coming back to Excel. I have a simple Excel sheet where I have my orders. Whenever something comes in, I immediately enter it in this Excel sheet. especially if you work like me and you have many different clients with smaller jobs. It's so important to keep track of these, right? Because things move so fast. So I can't even imagine how I would do it without this sheet. But that also means I completely rely on this sheet. That's also maybe a bit of a negative point, but what else can I do? Completely rely on this sheet. So whenever I miss entering a job into this sheet, I will most likely forget it, right? Unless I see a random email pop up. But if some client comes back to me and says, hey, you haven't delivered yet, where is the job? Then it's most likely because I haven't entered it in my order management sheet. And then I have to find a solution, either immediately get to work or tell them, I'm so sorry, I didn't write it up, or I wrote the wrong deadline. Can I deliver it by then and stuff? I've tried tools, but it's just not what I need. I need something efficient, basic, easy to handle, and that works for me. For my work meetings and personal events, I use Outlook Calendar. I have it synchronized with my girlfriend, so we know what's happening during the week in each other's lives, and then we do things together. That's very useful, and especially since I started this YouTube channel, it has become inevitable. I think my life just got much more busy. I think before I never actually had a calendar. It was just I wrote some things up by hand and that's it. But now my calendar is full, and it's useful to have it, definitely. And I also write now things in that are very, very basic. If I have to do something on Saturday that doesn't take long, but it's just in my mind and I don't want to keep it in my mind, I put it in there, because you have to remember that your brain is made to have ideas, not to store ideas, right? So whenever, that's another tip that I would give in terms of time management or becoming more productive. I have an app on my phone. I have a Samsung, so I use Samsung Notes, and whatever comes to mind, I immediately write down in these notes, right? So when I have ideas, when I have thoughts, when I have maybe like bullet points that could be useful in a debate later on, or if I have interesting things that come to mind that I want to think about later, I can't store all this in my mind. I used to, but this just doesn't work anymore. It's just so hectic, everything. So I have many notes in my phone, and occasionally I scroll through them and I check, and some I just don't even understand anymore, and then I delete them. But mostly it's very useful to look back on that. Anyways, back to the calendar thing. So I plan my meetings preferably for Tuesdays. So I bulk plan my meetings. That's a very big tip I have for you if you want to be more productive and manage your time better. So whenever I can, I plan my meetings on Tuesdays, and if it doesn't work, I also allow Thursdays. So that means that on Tuesdays I have often 4 or 5 meetings, so my day is relatively fully booked with meetings. So I wouldn't accept a big job with a deadline, and on Monday comes a big job with a deadline on Tuesday. I just can't do it, right? Because Tuesday is my meeting day. I have a weekly meeting planned anyways for Tuesday, so that's how it happened to be on Tuesday. I just planned it around that. And then on Thursday, I occasionally have 1 or 2 meetings. What that means is that I know already that Monday, Wednesday, and Friday I have more or less a free day to work, right? So I'm not distracted by meetings, not distracted by calls. So I can plan my big bulk jobs on these days, or I can go work in a cafe or in a co-working space where I don't need quiet. So that's nice in terms of planning, definitely. So now let's look at the actual day, right? Let's break it down. I plan my day, or I structure my day with a to-do list. I mentioned this many times in my video. I don't want to go without it. It's my go-to thing with a physical to-do list. I write down every morning before I start work what I want to do. One thing I learned recently by a great book, by the way, about productivity called Make Time by Jake Knapp. Yeah, if you haven't read it, a great book. I link it down below. The one thing that I took away from this book, or the main thing, was the daily highlight. And I really like this idea. So every day you write down one highlight on your to-do list that you have to achieve. And you focus everything around that, right? And you might say now, oh, one thing, that's not enough, right? I have to do way more. Of course, I'm not saying you shouldn't do more, but what this creates is that even if you have a shitty day and you can't get anything done, but you still complete your daily highlight, you will feel accomplished, right? No one stops you from doing more. But what it creates is, if you have a to-do list with 10 very important points, you can almost drown into it, right? But if you have one highlight, you focus on that, you do this early in the morning, it's done, and then it will be much more easier to complete the other tasks as well. Then the next part you have to think about is assigning time to your tasks. As I said, you learn this by experience most of the time. In the beginning, I would really give you the tip that perfectionism is your enemy here, right? Perfectionism kills productivity. And I'm not saying you shouldn't deliver high quality content, not at all. Your translations should be, or your language output or whatever you produce as a freelancer should be of high quality, of course. But done is more important than perfect, right? So when it's done, it has to go out. In the end, you are a business and you need to make money. So you don't have time to figure out, like, tweak this and make this perfect and stuff. So because suddenly you're only earning like $10-15 an hour if you spend so much time on useless tasks, right? So done is more important than perfect, definitely. Be strict with yourself and you assign your tasks. There is something called what is it called? The principle. Let me look it up. The Parkinson's law. I thought it's called principle, but it's called the Parkinson's law. And it's quite an interesting phenomenon. It basically refers to the fact that any given tasks will just take as long as you allow yourself time to do it. And I can't stress enough how often this happens. It's insane. Like, I have a deadline, I don't know, next Friday next week at 2 p.m. And for some reason I finish at 1:55 to deliver at 2. But I'm sure if I had to deliver at 3, I would finish at 2:55, right? Something in our brain is wired to finish right before the deadline. I guess you become more perfectionist when you have more time and you just push it, or you procrastinate more. Anyways, Parkinson's law, if you actually work with to-do lists, is so important. I actually have now a rule that I assign always 25% less time that I think a job takes. So if I look at a job and I think this will take me an hour, I assign 45 minutes to it. Even if I don't completely get that, I might do it in 50 minutes, 55 minutes. Then I still just have a little shorter break, but still my day becomes much more productive, and I see that I'm usually finishing it in 75% of the allocated time. Parkinson's law. A few more tips on how to stay productive and manage your time well. I'm sure you've heard of the clean desk, clean mind philosophy. My desk is mostly clean. I don't have an issue with that. But what I actually changed it to is clean inbox, clean mind principle. That helps so much for me. If my inbox would be overflowed with thousands of emails, even if they are read, it would just clutter my brain. So I have folders under my inbox. There are many different folders for my clients, for different projects, for topics, etc. And my goal is to always go to 0 in the inbox. When an email comes in, I check what has to be done to it. If it requires an action from me, then it stays read in the inbox. Once the action is done, I move it to the folder. If I don't need to do anything, it just gets deleted right away or put in the folder. So on average, I have maybe like 3 to 5 emails in my inbox, but at the end of the day, I aim to get this down to 0. That makes my mind very clear, and the next day I can start with a fresh, productive day. Setting boundaries is extremely important as a freelancer. Don't accept random, unrealistic deadlines, right? Because it will mess up your whole ecosystem that you've built. If you have a nice plan for the whole week and then suddenly someone tells you, I need this tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., and you have to work all night, you will be exhausted and you can't do the things the next day. So your whole time management is messed up for at least a week. Set boundaries, know when you want to work. Some people work 9 to 5, some people work 12 to 8, whatever it works for you. Set boundaries and say no. I often hear people saying, I couldn't work from home. I get so distracted. I procrastinate all the time. That's an interesting thing, because I feel like you should allow yourself to procrastinate. I do that too. I do the same. Like, it's so easy to open YouTube, for example, and just scroll around because you're already at the computer, you're already at your desk. But if you do that, allow yourself to procrastinate, because obviously your brain you need something, right? But then also ask yourself why you're doing it. Is it because you're not interested in the current job? Is it because you don't have anything to do? Is it because the client is not responsive? Try to ask yourself why, and then try to fix that. If you don't have anything to do some marketing. If you don't like the client, try to find another one and kick this one out. If you don't like the subject, try to specialize in something else. Procrastination always has a reason. It's important to find that one. If you do CPD on YouTube, for example, continuous professional development, I have to say that because last time someone asked what you speak of CPD, but I don't know what it is. Just basically means if you develop yourself professionally through video, I would always recommend also this one. Down in the right corner, you can set the video speed. I always watch this video in 0.25 or 0.5 speed. Usually, like sometimes 0.5 is too fast and it gets too overwhelming, but 0.25 is always perfectly fine. Also my videos, I would only watch if I watched my videos, I would watch them in 0.25. because in the same hour, that if you spend an hour on professional development, you can probably get one more video in if you speed up the average view time. And when you have one of these unproductive, sluggish days, don't beat yourself up about it, right? That's exactly where the daily highlight comes in. Try to finish your daily highlight, and that's it. And then be happy that you did that. Because you can't change anyways. Like if you haven't done a lot of work that day, if you feel bad about it, the amount of work will not go up, right? You rather feel good about this one thing that you achieved, and then you start fresh tomorrow when you want to improve yourself, and you accomplish more tasks tomorrow. There you go. These are my thoughts on time management as a freelancer, or also kind of productivity as a freelancer. It's kind of a merging subject for me. As I said, I need to improve myself, so don't take anything I say like for granted that I do all of this. This is just my ideal world, my tips, and this year I definitely want to focus on getting better in that as well. Hope you enjoyed episode 1 of season 4, and I see you next Monday with the next one. Take care. Bye bye.